A reading from the letter of St. James. My brothers and sisters, show no partiality as you adhere to the faith in our glorious Lord Jesus Christ. For if a man with gold rings and fine clothes comes into your assembly, and a poor person in shabby clothes also comes in, and you pay attention to the one wearing the fine clothes and say, "Sit here, please," while you say to the poor one, "Stand there," or "Sit at my feet," have you not made distinctions among yourselves and become judges with evil designs? Listen, my beloved brothers and sisters, did not God choose those who are poor in the world to be rich in faith and heirs of the kingdom that He promised to those who love Him? The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
The deacon and martyr St. Lawrence, when he was arrested by the Roman authorities, was commanded to bring forth the treasures of the church. He went away and he came back with a number of poor, indigent people from the streets and presented them to the Roman authorities and said, "These are the treasures of the church." St. Lawrence had something that not all of us have, a vision of God's own economic vision. And James invites us in this passage from his letter to put on the economic vision of God. If you say to a rich man, "Sit here, please," while you say to the poor one, "Stand there," or "Sit at my feet." But we don't do that, do we? How often do we see the rich, do we see money, and go after it, looking for benefactors to fund our projects? How often do we honor the rich in our midst and ignore the poor? Or worse, we honor the rich. We name our buildings after them. We elect them to be our leaders. But James says earlier in his letter, the rich will disappear like the flowers of the field. And so God's economy tells us that it's very likely that what we think is important probably is not all that important to God. Now you might be saying to me, "Brother Thomas, be practical. Be sensible. We need money. We need these things to carry on our mission. After all, money makes the world go round." No, it doesn't. As St. Paul would say, "Mega noita." By no means, not at all. The world does not go round by money. Love makes the world go round. And what the Christian vision, God's economy, tells us is that the poor have definitively conquered the world, which we seem to think is ruled by the rich. Why does God show favor to the poor when St. James himself tells us to show no partiality? James says, "Listen, my beloved brothers and sisters, did not God choose the poor in the world to be rich in faith and heirs of the kingdom? So why does God show partiality when we're not supposed to?" In the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, one of the earliest steps is the recognition that one is completely and utterly powerless to stop the addiction. And only in that recognition can one ever begin to change. It is in the recognition of our own poverty, our utter powerlessness, that we could ever begin to break the cycle of addiction to money, to sin, to the world. This is why God favors the poor. Because the poor have recognized their powerlessness. We who honor the rich ought to honor the poor. We who honor the rich ought to honor our own poverty, our own powerlessness to change, our own powerlessness to be who we want to be, our utter dependence on God. And so we are called to honor our true benefactors, the poor. We are called to honor our one true benefactor, God Himself, who gives Himself to us, that we might no longer be powerless, but that we might inherit with the poor the kingdom that God has promised to those who love Him.